Moving on, a few words on Dr. Sharada Natarajan. Dr. Sharada Natarajan is the president of Ramana Maharishi Center for Learning in Bangalore. She is a PhD degree holder in English from Bangalore University. She has authored several books, and to name a few of them, Ramana Way in Search of Self, Ramana Devamale Ramana Puranam, Surging Joy of Self-Discovery, The Wondrous Vigilance, and Sri Ramana Maharishi. Dr. Sharada Natarajan has also emerged as a classical dancer under the tutelage of Guru Kumari Meenakshi of Veena Visalakshi Art Center, Bangalore, and is also a classical singer, and she received her guidance from Guru Smith Sulochana Natarajan. She has also composed more than 100 poems in Kannada and Tamil respectively, and 40 poems in Hindi, and it is published in the book Ramana Hole. She has also presented papers in 30 national and 2 international seminars conducted by Ramana Maharishi Center for Learning. I would now request Mr. T.S. Vishwanathan to honor her. I would now request Dr. Sharada Natarajan to address us.
Dakshinamurti Sarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ramanacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam Vande Guru Paramparam. My prostrations to all those on the dais and all those seated here who are all embodiments of the Supreme One Spirit that shines everywhere at all times. It is a great honor for me to be here today, and while listening to the great speakers who have come before me and who are all so steeped in truth, in our scriptures, and in the culture of our Bharata, I felt a little hesitant actually to come and stand here. But my task is both maybe apparently difficult, because everything that has to be said has been said so beautifully already and by the best of speakers. But it's also made easy because although, as Dr. Ramaratnam said, somebody might have spoken the truth, truth is something which bears repetition a number of times. And I will have the joy of repeating the truths which they have already spoken. During our national seminars, I was almost always the last speaker. And I would tell my father, Mr. A.R. Natarajan, who would speak before, everybody has covered all my points. What am I going to speak about? Because as first, Justice Mohan started with what are the tenets of Hinduism? Arabhyate Jiva Jagat Paratma. Sri Ramana Maharshi has told us there are 3. This is not the tenets of Hinduism alone. These are the tenets of all religions in the world. Jiva, Jagat and Paratma. The concerns are about the Supreme, about the world, and about the individual, and the relationship of the individual with the world and with the Supreme. And so he said that. Then Dr. Ramaratnam said, the democratic aspect of Hinduism. That was another point which I wanted to touch upon. Oh, that's also finished. And then Mr. Ramadevan came up with the lifetime search of Mr. Vishwanathan, another point which I wanted to mention. That was also over. They have finished giving all the significant aspects of the book which I had meditated upon. For me, the book or anything that comes to me in life is a blessed meditation. So I would not say very truthfully I would say that I have not read the whole book, but I have meditated upon some aspects of the book which came to me. The first thing which happened when I opened this book was that I opened it, the first page, mention of Sri Ramana Maharshi. The self-enquiry method of Ramana Maharshi, how Ramana Maharshi points out that if you go to the source of the thoughts, by going to the source of the I thought, you reach your own divine nature. That's the first thing which comes to me when I'm looking at this book. I open another page, again Ramana Maharshi. I open a third page, again Ramana Maharshi. Oh wow, this book is about me and my life. I felt it was a great grace because, as it was said earlier, there are many gems which have been selected through years of dwelling upon certain issues. I have, in my interactions, which have been very few with Mr. Vishwanathan, have always noticed his jignasa, his keenness on learning. He is constantly in search of the knowledge. And, of course, a jignasu does not accept things very easily. He might have been treading on some toes also in the process of his seeking. He might have apparently denied certain customs, certain truths during the process of his seeking. But it was a part of his seeking. And ultimately we find that all this denial was that he was identifying at that stage with those who are denying things. And he was trying to seek and find out for himself whether this denial is true or whether the affirmation is true. And he found it out for himself before he produced it as a book. And that, I think, is the beautiful part of the book, is that truth in it. It's not just that he has picked up things from places, but that he has identified with whatever he was picking up, he has internalized it, and then he has brought it out for us. And that is the greatest thing which anybody can give. Whenever one gives anything, whether it's music or dance or writing, it is how much of the truth of it that we are communicating. And I'm very happy to be associated, to have even read that book at the first reading only. I think one should go into it. Another thing is that it's a brief, it's just so brief, and it has so many topics in it. So one can pick it up, look at any page, without getting tired. You see, now we live in an age where information is given in 10-second advertisements on the television. 10 seconds. People say that the span of attention of today's generation does not go beyond 10 or 20 seconds. It's very difficult. We do not live in an age anymore of the Gurukula system, which many of the people here might have undergone years of training. Today, when anybody comes into any field of knowledge, they want to know how much they can gain within maximum period of 1 year. In 1 year, can I give some exam in music? Can I give some exam in dance? Can I do something? What will I get out of it? And so, the brevity of the book is also, the brevity of each of the subjects which he has picked up is in accordance or in tune with today's generation. And that's something very good. So that I could even read a few things and understand, oh, this is what he's saying about this. And it's an introduction which he has given. He has obviously not planned to go in depth into any of the subjects that he has taken up, which would be impossible because, as Justice Mohan said, it's an ocean. Everything in this life, in the objective world, everything has to be an ocean. There is no end. There is no end to study. There is no end to knowledge. Because you can keep on. If you take music also, thousands of lifetimes we cannot comprehend what has already been studied, which has already been put in, which has already been experienced. Any art, any field of knowledge, objective knowledge, is infinite always. It is endless always. Therefore, one can only taste a little of it. Oru paanai sothukku oru soru padam. அந்த ஒரு சோறு கொடுத்துட்டா அப்போ அதில் யாருக்கு எது பிடிச்சிருக்கோ. His idea is, I think, among the younger generation, whatever may be their propensity, if it is towards management, then I'm giving you a little bit something about management. If it is towards engineering, because these two are the streams which are now so popular, you see. He has selected those two streams. And of course, as Professor Ramaratnam told us, the need to be, the need to get a kudos from somebody outside. No man is a hero to his valet, you see. It's not just that Indians do not appreciate something unless it's told from outside. Very often in our home, I would hear my mother saying, "Appakku vera yaradu sonnadha pidikum, na sonnena adhe point e ottuka matta." And this is, you're too close. You don't recognize the value when you're so close. So something comes from a distance and lets you know. And probably that's why they say, don't praise those who are close to you also. They may not value your praise also that much. So whatever that is, but the fact is he has given that, he has gone into the recognition that our scriptures, our tradition has received from outside. And the other side of it is, yes, if we ourselves pat ourselves on our back, as Professor said, it's not a great thing. If I say, yes, I belong to something great, it's good. I should have it as a part of my self-respect. But to proclaim it to the world, I have to say, the world accepts it as much as I do. It's not just that I am saying it. It's not just my anubhava I am talking about. It is the anubhava of the rest of the world. Now, if we take why it is important that a scientist discovering something about Hinduism gives it a certain significance is because he is not coming from a conditioned background. He does not come with any proclivity to say this is good. Whereas we may say, oh, this is our religion. Obviously, we are going to say it's great. But somebody who doesn't know anything about it, if he makes that discovery, then we can say, yes, there is no doubt this is true. If you see in the life of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi, as a boy of 16, he experienced death and won over it and discovered for himself that undying truth, that the Supreme, his own true nature is immortal, it is infinite, it is all-enveloping. And he discovered it with no prior knowledge of any scripture. The magnificence of it is, he discovered it as a boy of 16. He had not read any scripture. He was not, though he was born into an orthodox Hindu Brahmin family, the funny part of it is, he never had any exposure to any of the Hindu scriptures. The only one which he had read was the Periya Puranam, which was a Bhakti Nool, and he had not studied any of the other scriptures. And when he got that knowledge, and he says later people came to him asking him doubts about the Bhagavad Gita, asking him doubts about the Vedas and the Vedanta and various scriptures, and he said, oh, what I have experienced, the scriptures are talking about. So it became an all-time stamp that nobody can say, because this is I'm mentioning this point because my friends in school I have suffered from their questioning me, saying, oh, you're talking about this, you're conditioned. They would always tell me, I'm conditioned. You're conditioned, so you're saying this is the truth. At that time, I did not know enough of psychology to say everybody in this world is conditioned in one way or the other. I did not know, and I used to wonder. But it was helpful to me because I decided to decondition myself, to go away from everything that I valued for a period of time, and then discovered for myself its value. That was good. Anything that comes to us in life comes by the divine providence, and it is a great grace. Without grace, nothing moves in this world. We know that. And if such an effort has come to its fruition, that itself is something we must salute, because that means it is an expression of grace. Without grace, nothing comes to fruition. Nothing comes to fruition. And I think it's a great blessing that the great ones on stage today, Professor has said, while pointing out the mistakes, he has said, let it be corrected in the next edition. That's a blessing. That's a blessing. That means the book runs into its next edition. When the Acharya tells, let it be corrected in the next edition, I thought that's a great blessing. And of course, Mr. Ramdevan said there are going to be other books also. That's because when there is some force which has started moving in him, which has prompted him to go into it, to delve into it, and obviously when he starts dwelling into a subject, he will want to dwell into it more and more. He will be inspired to improve upon himself. That is the obvious part of grace, because a child falls down and immediately starts walking again. So that's how the grace propels us towards betterness and betterness, until each one of us reaches perfection through our own path, which is given to us in that grace. So this is a path which I find that the Supreme has surely given to Mr. Vishwanathan, and they are, as I have known them, a deeply spiritual family, and every one of them in the family, each in their own way, and that is the democracy of Hinduism. Each of us, we know we are blessed with our own way of approaching the Supreme, and this is the search, this is the path which has been opened out to him. It's a wonderful thing because it can be shared with so many, and we can pick up that book any point of time, just open it at any page. Most of the pages have quotes from the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, or they have quotes from Tirukkural. There are wonderful gems everywhere. One can just pick up one gem, forget to read the rest of the book, just look at that gem which he has selected, just meditate on that gem also. That itself will be a great insight for every one of us. And I do wish that this book reaches many hands, as it has been wished earlier also, and that will be also a part of the scheme. As he said, when we do not know, but it has been done, it has been brought out only to benefit many. And these insights are sure to benefit many. I am very greatly honored that I have also been given an opportunity to share this dais with Justice Mohan, Professor Ramratnam, Mr. Ramdevan, and Mr. Vishwanathan. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words, Dr. Sharada.